Hello, my name is Lakin and welcome to my channel. And in today's video, I'm going to be telling you and going over all of my 2020 reading stats. This is my 2020 wrap up and it's an exciting one. At least it is for me. In 2020, I read 167 books, which is the most books I've ever read in a year, ever, by far. Like, years before, I've read around 50 books, like a little over 50. I would set my goal at 50 and just make it over by a few books. I was perfectly happy with that. But this year, I hit that 50 mark in like May, I think. And then I bumped it up to 100, and then I passed that one, and it just kept going. Luckily, I didn't bump it up again, so I completed my Goodreads goal. But I just want to document what my reading stats were for this month, because if it's a fluke, I'm perfectly okay with that, and I'm happy to remember the year that I read 167 books. But if it's not a fluke, I want to see where it all starts and then how my reading changes with me reading this many books each year. Now for 2021, my Goodreads reading goal is at 50 again, because I don't want to put that pressure on me of needing to read 100 books. So it's at 50, even though secretly my Goodreads goal is 100, but we'll get there when we get there. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into these reading stats. I have them all right here, and it's kind of a mess. It's kind of a lot, so this may be all over the place. I'm sorry, this probably won't be the most organized reading stats video, but I enjoy these so much. I enjoy just listening to how other people break down their year-long reading. And so yeah, if you're interested in these, here they are. So technically my Goodreads challenge says I read 173 books, but it counts the books that I've reread like twice within this 1 year, even though I only read them once this year. So that's what that is. Technically, I read 167, even though it says 173. So that's what that is. But I read 113 audio books. I read 35 physical books and 19 ebooks. That's not surprising at all to me. I'm always listening to an audiobook, so I was kind of expecting it. I'm actually surprised I read more physical and ebooks than I did, which I guess is good on me. I'm getting better at actually sitting down and reading. So I'm pretty proud of that. And this year, or last year, I either bought or was gifted 30 books. And out of those 30 books, I read 14 of them. But let's go ahead and get on to the ones that are actually interesting, which is like the star ratings and stuff. And so my average rating was a 3.6, which I think is pretty fine. Usually it's around the 3.5, 3.6 like range for me, so nothing's really shocking there for me. But I read 40 5-star books. I read 56 4-star books, 45 3-star books, 24 2-star books, 2 1-star books, and I DNF'd 15, which I'm proud of that. Especially the DNFing. I'm proud that I'm able to finally start DNFing books that I'm not enjoying and not feel guilty and just feel like I have to read them. So I don't want to DNF books, but I'm glad that I'm allowing myself and getting better at just DNFing a book. Because I would rather DNF a book instead of giving it a 1-star, you know? Within the genres, I didn't break these down by genres, because that would be a lot. But I did break them down between adult, new adult, middle grade, and then fiction and nonfiction. So I read 60 adult books. I read 82 young adult books and 25 middle grade books. Nothing really to say about that, but this year I did discover that I really enjoy middle grade. So hopefully that number will go up. Who knows? We'll see. And then I read 151 fiction books and 16 nonfiction books, which I do want the nonfiction number to go up because I enjoy them. And I always feel like I read more nonfiction than I actually do. And so I should probably start actually reading more nonfiction. Now, last year I did a reading through the decades challenge where each month there was a dedicated decade that I was reading through, and because of that I basically read books from every single decade from the 1920s to 2020. And it was really interesting to see, I may put the graph up on here, it was really interesting to see the little line just go up, 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 up. So I read around like 3 to 5 books from each decade, and then the ones that actually matter is the 2000s and on. And so I read 20 books from the 2000s. I read 103 books from 2010s, and I read 17 new releases from 2020. And 4 of those 17 were debuts. And I definitely want to start reading more debuts, and like, especially because one thing I realized while looking through all this stuff is I don't necessarily reread authors. Like there was only 16 authors that I had read before this year that I read, and 117 were brand new authors to me. Like I said, only 4 of them were debuts, but still. So I just don't reread authors. Only 20 authors that I read from this year, I read multiple books from this year, and those were like mostly serieses. There weren't many books that I picked up from authors that were just random books from them. The only author I read a lot of books from was Gail Carriger, and I read 10 of her books, which was just me reading series after series, which she is my favorite author, so it's not really a surprise there. But yeah, that was one thing that kind of shocked me, that I just pick up books and I don't necessarily look to authors that I've read before that I really enjoy, even though I probably should, because I enjoyed their books, so I would probably enjoy the other ones of theirs. So I need to get better on that. And some of the authors that I do want to read from and like kind of make an effort to read more of their books that were new to me this year were Taylor Jenkins Reid, Blake Crouch, Sonia Menon, Dot Hutcherson, Elizabeth Acevedo, Grady Hendrix, John Mars, Emily X.R. Pan, Julie Berry, Lyssa K. Adams, Margaret Rogerson, Michael Crichton, and Riley Sager. So those are authors that I definitely want to read more from and kind of be intentional about that. And yeah, I feel like most people, when they find an author they love, they read all their books and like make an effort, and I should probably start doing that. And so now let's go ahead and get into the monthly breakdown. With the monthly breakdown of how many books I read each month and my favorite and least favorite book from that month. So in January, I read 10 books, and my favorite book was The Butterfly Garden by Dot Hutcherson, and my least favorite book was The Diviners by Libba Bray. In February, I read 8 books, and my favorite book from that month was The Overdue Life of Amy Byler by Kelly Harms, and my least favorite book was Lilac Girls by Martha Hall Kelly. In March, I read 14 books, and my favorite book was A Tree Grows in Brooklyn by not Petty, by Betty Smith. And my least favorite book was Warriors Into the Wild. Can't remember who's that. I can't remember who that's by, but it's the first book in the Warriors series. I feel like I would have loved that book whenever I was younger. If I was in the actual age range, I could see myself loving that book. Just wasn't for me now that I'm in my 20s. In April, I read 13 books, with my favorite one being My Brother's Husband by, again, can't remember, but I'll have them up on the screen, so don't worry. And my least favorite book was Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. In May, I read 20 books, and my favorite one was The Astonishing Color of After by Emily X.R. Pan, and my least favorite one was The Help by Kathryn Stockett. In June, I read 18 books, my favorite being You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson, and my least favorite one was Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. Can't believe I'm saying that, but you know, it's true. In July was my best reading month with 28 books. Can't believe I read that many. Don't know how I read that many. My favorite book in July was Kindred by Octavia E. Butler, and my least favorite was Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. In August, I read 19 books, and my favorite book from that month was Lock Every Door by Riley Sager, and my least favorite book was Upright Women Wanted by Sarah Gailey, I think. In September, I read 18 books, and my favorite book was Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. And my least favorite book was The Time Traveler's Wife by Audrey Niffinger. I think that's how you pronounce it. Not for sure, but it's on the screen. In October, I read 16 books, and my favorite one was Life of Pi by Jan Martel, and my least favorite one was Specials by Scott Westerfield. And then this is where I started getting into my reading slump. So these last 2 months, these were technically my worst months in how many books I read each month, with November being 7 books, and my favorite being Mexican Gothic by Sylvia, can't remember last name, but again, it's on the screen. But my least favorite one was Competence by Gail Carriger, which surprised me, but you know, it's there. When you don't have that many books to choose from, you gotta pick a least and a favorite. And so some of these leasts, it's just, I didn't actually, like, I still liked them, it's just compared to all the other books, it fell at the bottom of the list, you know? Especially with December, with me only reading 2 books. So one and the other, they had to go in either one. And so my favorite one was One by One by Ruth Ware, and my least favorite was Get a Life, Chloe Brown. And yeah, that one is the same as I enjoyed Get a Life, but when you only read 2 books, oh my goodness, cats everywhere. When you only read 2 books, you gotta pick one. But my top 5 favorite books of the year 2020 was The Butterfly Garden, The Overdue Life of Amy Byler, The Astonishing Color of After, Kindred, and Dark Matter. So those were my top 5 favorite books. Definitely recommend. And then my top 5 least favorite books are The Diviners, Fahrenheit 451, The Help, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and Specials. So the other ones are just kind of there. But yeah, what I thought was interesting was in January and May were both months where I read a top 5 from both my top 5 favorites and my top 5 least favorites. All the others are just interspersed within different months, but January and May, I read one of each, which I thought was interesting. I feel like that's all my stats. The only stat left up here is I started 31 series and I finished 11. If that's interesting to you, there you go. So yeah, those are my 2020 reading stats. Even if you didn't care about this, I cared about this, and I definitely want to have this to look back on because I read so many books. Yeah, I guess that's it. Guess I don't have any other stats for you. I hope this satisfied your curiosity of what my reading in 2020 looked like. I know it definitely satisfied mine. And yeah, I hope you are having a great morning or evening whenever you're watching this. And let me know some of your reading stats below in the comments, just to kind of see, because I'm always curious. I'm very nosy about these things. Yeah. Thank you for watching. I hope you are having a great morning or evening. Again, I can never say that too much. So yeah, again, I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Gallivant, gotta move. Thank you.